Hello folks, Armando Barbosa here with Vision Mortgage Company, bringing you the Vision Mortgage Minute, information you should know about the mortgage industry in a few minutes. Today's topic is the first-time home buyer in the post-corona environment. And the first thing I'm going to talk about is unemployment, and you'll see why. Unemployment has hit some record highs. It's not as high as in the Great Depression when in 1933 we hit 25%. But unfortunately, it's heading in that direction. Last week, we had 3.2 million workers file unemployment in the United States. We have, in Texas alone, 1.8 million Texans file for unemployment. And that's about 14% of the entire workforce. So, in Bexar County, nearly 100,000 filed for unemployment in mid-March to April 25th. So the economists are saying that if something doesn't essentially turn around, we had a rebound by early July, that Congress is probably going to have to extend the additional unemployment benefits that were made possible by the $2 trillion CARES Act. All right, so why unemployment? Why talk about unemployment? Because lenders are factoring in unemployment into their pricing. They are changing their guidelines to ensure that you are in fact employed at the time of closing. They will ask us to call, or they will call your employer the day of closing and ensure that you're employed. They want to make sure that you don't have a reduction in hours, that everything is as presented on your application for approval. So other things have changed. If you are an FHA buyer and you were coming into this marketplace when you had a not so glamorous 640 FICO score, they go from 350 to 850. Let's say yours is 640. You could expect in the previous days, post-corona, pre-corona rather, you could expect an interest rate between 3 and 4% with no points. And points are fees that are associated with obtaining a particular interest rate. 1% is 1 point. So on $100,000, 1% or 1 point is $1,000. What has happened is, and this is primarily due to the government's forbearance guidelines. The forbearance is where you basically say to your lender, hey, I can't make the payment. And so the lender essentially gives you 3 months. It was dictated by the federal government on any loan insured by the government, FHA, VA, USDA, Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac loans. They'd give you 3 months. And then essentially if you couldn't make your payments after those additional 3 months, they'd give you another 3 months. Somehow or another you have to make amends for those payments, and it could be that your loan would be modified or something of this nature. But keep in mind there are repercussions. In fact, the government said you should not impact your credit. So it will not impact your FICO scores, but I'll guarantee you that if a lender sees that you had a forbearance, they're going to press pause on your application. So be very careful. If you absolutely need it, take it. If you don't, survive without it. A couple of other things. Pricing adjustments. We talked about points already. And there's two things that a lender is worried about. Number one, the obvious is making sure that you make your mortgage payment. Vis-a-vis, they're checking your employment. But the other thing is something called runoff. And that is where a borrower makes a loan, let's say 4%, and then at some point decides to refinance that loan in the future. If that future refinance is after 2 years, not a problem. But if it's within 2 years, essentially the lender pays a penalty to the investor that bought that loan. So they're very concerned about runoff. So they don't want to make an interest rate that's too high because you'll want to refinance it in the future. So with that in mind, the interest rates in today's market should be probably in the mid-4s to account for all of this reckoning of credit risk and inherent risk to loans. But it's not. It's artificially kept low so that there is less runoff. So 3.75, for example, might carry 3 points in today's market. That's a lot. But what you should know and be very aware of is that brokers like myself have the ability to shop the market very, very hard and diligently, and we do that every day. And one of the things that you're going to find is that there are lenders in the marketplace that will charge an interest rate without points. you'll need to educate not only yourself, but your realtor to make sure that they understand to shop around for you, to make sure that you make the wise decision and get into a home with the least amount of money possible, if that's what your goal is, and get into a very comfortable payment. So with that in mind, we appreciate you taking the time. Like us on Facebook, please. Give us a Google rating. Oh, we love those Google ratings. And call us at 210-348-0077. As for myself, Armando Barbosa, or Joey Barbosa, both here to serve you. And as always, happy house hunting and be safe.